Good morning, gentlemen. Today is going to be awesome. I have decided to vlog a movie that I've probably seen 50 times in my life because I feel like when I was a kid, it was on HBO every other day. And you know what's funny about it, guys? The great Bill Murray has inserted himself in the lore of this movie, and he wasn't even in it. Yeah, go figure. Well, good morning, guys. If I look a little bit better, it's because I got a haircut after the vlog was over with yesterday. It was looking a little shaggy, so I just thought, yeah, I'll get it cleaned up just a little bit. So, yeah, today what we're gonna vlog is something I'm surprised I haven't thought of vlogging before now. Like I said, it used to always be on TV, and the older I got, like, I feel like every other year I would find out that somebody from this movie was kind of well known, and I go, oh, I just knew him from this movie. I didn't realize that's who that was. So this has a lot of like really interesting guest stars in the movie that you might not recognize until I tell you, oh, this person was this. But I'm gonna point them out to you, and we're gonna go check out some of the great filming locations of Patrick Swayze's Roadhouse. Daze with Jordan the Lion begins now. We're gonna hit the dog park first though. John needs to go out and play a little bit. I should not have opened my big mouth. Now it started raining. Come on, big guy. Not too much action out here, but at least the rain's kind of stopped. So when they made Roadhouse, it was kind of a big deal because this was Patrick Swayze's follow-up to Dirty Dancing. And Patrick Swayze, you know, he was extremely well known from Dirty Dancing. He had become a heartthrob. They said, in fact, on Roadhouse sets, they had to have extra security because there were so many women showing up trying to meet him. But when he did Dirty Dancing, he really only got to show part of his talents. He got to show his dramatic ability, he got to show the dancing side and the gymnastic side because he had all of those. He was a gymnast, he was a dancer, he was a great actor, he was a method actor, but he was also a martial artist. And so doing Roadhouse was kind of a big deal for him because this allowed him to basically do the kind of role that he always wanted to do. He was a bad dude in real life. He was a good guy, but he was just like, he was not the kind of guy you wanted to mess with. And this was the first time that he was really gonna get to show that macho side of him. And so they knew going in that this was not like an Oscar-winning type movie, but they did want to make it the best looking movie for what they were doing. They wanted to do kind of a Western, serious yet tongue-in-cheek type thing where it wasn't really meant to be funny, but over time, so much about this movie has just become a legend. I mean, people talk about this movie as though it's a cinematic masterpiece. It had a great cinematographer, great direction, great actors, but it's kind of known for also being somewhat of a, well, the greatest drive-in movie experience you could have. So it had it all. It had nudity, it had violence, it had good acting, it had dramatic moments, explosions, 9 or 10 different fight scenes. Yeah, they really covered everything. Now, even though the movie takes place in Missouri, they actually filmed it all in California, but in various places in California, so I can't do a complete filming location vlog today. They filmed Brad Wesley's house and where the barn was that Patrick Swayze Dalton lived on that second floor. That was all actually hours away from here on private property. Then they also had that very early shot, the bandstand, where he's working supposedly in New York, and a lot of the interiors for the Double Deuce were down in Anaheim, and that building where they filmed that is gone now. So where we're going today is we're going to the location of where the Double Deuce bar itself was and where Red's auto parts are. And Red is one of those particular people I was mentioning where you have all these weird kind of side people in the movie that have their own story. Red West was Red West from Elvis Presley's Memphis Mafia. He plays Red of Red's Auto Parts. I think he's found some friends over here. Hanging out here with my buddy. Now, one of the things that I thought was rather unique about this movie was that they said that this movie was casted in most part based on the actor's voice. Not so much their expression, not so much their history, but they were really looking for voices. That's why they went with Ben Gazzara, Sam Elliott. Patrick Swayze was a star, and he was, you know, he was probably the exception, but everybody else, they said, we really were looking for a voice that captured a mood, because we knew a lot of the moments on screen were going to, you know, rely heavily upon that. So the female lead to Roadhouse is Kelly Lynch, and now I'm going to tell you how Bill Murray comes into this story. Bill Murray is a huge fan of Roadhouse. Bill Murray also happens to be great friends with Kelly Lynch's husband, Mitch Glazer. So how I found out about this was a little clip of Anthony Bourdain hanging out with Bill Murray, and Anthony Bourdain is talking about how much he loves Roadhouse, and all of a sudden Bill Murray goes, that's one of my favorite movies. He goes, for years, probably 25 years, he said, I'm friends with Kelly Lynch's husband, and no matter where I am in the world, if Roadhouse is on TV, I call him no matter what time it is, no matter where I am, no matter where he is, and I say, I disguise my voice a little bit and I say, your wife's getting pounded up against the wall by Patrick Swayze. She don't seem to be putting up too much of a fight about it either. And then I hang up. So I had heard that and I thought that was hilarious, and then I'm watching the making, like the history of Roadhouse, and Kelly Lynch is telling that story, saying the same thing, saying that, you know, for years Bill Murray, and she goes, not very well, disguises his voice and calls us constantly and makes those comments. And then I actually found Mitch Glazer, her husband, telling this story, sitting right next to Bill Murray, and he tells the same exact story, except he adds a little twist to the story where he says, yeah, he's called me for 25 years doing the same thing, constantly making the same comments and hanging up. Except now he's given my phone number to all of his brothers, and now all of his brothers do the same thing every time Roadhouse is on TV. I thought that was hilarious, and I just thought it added to that great Bill Murray lore all the people have of just all of his kind of bizarre behaviors that are always like really great stories. That's one of them. None of them are really doing too much playing, but they're all walking around and socializing, looking at each other, scoping each other out. Well, look who came up here to sit with me. You're over there hanging out with all the dogs, and you noticed I was sitting over here alone. You bolted. I could hear you running. He's got a little girlfriend here. All right, Jaws had his food. Let's go out to Santa Clarita together. If you haven't watched it in a while, go rewatch it. It's really, really entertaining. You can see the Santa Clarita sign in our rear view here. Well, believe it or not, we have found the former filming location of Roadhouse. Right here is where the Double Deuce used to stand. Well, unfortunately we can't go into it, but what we can do is we can see that there is a road passing right through there, and that was the road that took you into, well, it was actually standing right there during filming. The way that you can tell that's exactly where that is because that tree was still there. That tree was off to the side of the Double Deuce, so it would have been right back where that driveway kind of ends right there, which means that back here in this patch that you can kind of see opened up, that's where Red's auto parts store was. Just right here off to the side of the road, right across from like a little strip mall development. Now this movie was a big deal when it was filmed because Patrick Swayze, like I said, was maybe the biggest star in the country at that time because of Dirty Dancing, and this was something he really wanted to make, and he was a method actor, so when he showed up he was extremely prepared, and he was Dalton. In fact, my friend did a podcast with Marshall Teague, the man who he ends up fighting out there at the lake. He's like the #1 henchman for Brad Wesley. He said that when he was on set, originally, like, he's like, I had always heard that Patrick Swayze was a nice guy, but he wouldn't say a word to me on set. And then finally, and he goes, in fact, he was kind of giving me dirty looks and different things like that. And he said, finally, somebody on the crew came up and said, oh, he's in character, he's method actor, so right now he doesn't like you. And Marshall Teague said, once I knew that, I was able to do the same thing. He said, if I saw him on set, we'd look at each other across set and we would mean mug each other. He said, if we walked past, we would kind of like, out of the corner of our eye, look at each other and kind of snarl, he said. And so when the first thing that we did together was that fight scene out by the lake, and he said, before we shot it, the director came up to me and said, hey, can you kind of get him in the zone, because he's not really in character yet today. Maybe get under his skin. So he said when they first started filming that section of the fight, he said that Patrick Swayze like went to do a kick, and he said, I grabbed his leg and threw him back and was like, if that's the best you got, we're gonna be out here a long time. And he said, that got the fuel going, and he said we had a great fight scene. And in fact, that fight scene is one of the best fight scenes in any movie. So out here at the Double Deuce, a lot of really interesting parts of the movie happen. Basically, if you've never seen the movie, Patrick Swayze is what they call a cooler, and he's one of the best coolers in the country. He's a guy that problem bars and saloons bring in to clean up their clientele, to get the fighting and all that stuff to stop, so that the bar can start making money. And so he's hired to come out to Missouri to this Double Deuce saloon that was standing right here. Like I said, that tree, every photo you can find, or every time it's pretty much featured in the movie, you see that tree right next to it. So it would have stood right there. This is where he shows up and walks in and sees just what a total disaster this place is. And so this is where he delivers on the second day that memorable speech of I have 3 rules. Rule number 1, never underestimate your opponent. Expect the unexpected. Rule number 2, take it outside. If he wants to fight, take him outside. Walk him. But don't do it inside. And he goes, and rule number 3, be nice. And so then they all go into this, well, what if this happens, whatever. He goes, I don't care. Walk him, but be nice. And so this is where you really see like all the employees of the bar, and those are the people that I was talking about earlier that have like really great reputations outside of the movie, and then they end up getting cast in it, like the bartender Pat with that like pencil thin mustache. That was John Doe from the band X. You had Red West from Elvis's gang, you know, the Elvis Memphis Mafia. You had the guy who played Morgan, who gets fired immediately, the bouncer. That's wrestler Terry Funk. You had Keith David in this. You had Sam Elliott. You had Ben Gazzara. You had Kelly Lynch, Patrick Swayze. Jeff Healey is the band. He's the leader of the band, and he's been famous forever, you know, the Jeff Healey band. So also here, this is where we also see the time that the henchman for Brad Wesley shows up with the knife pointed out from his boot, and Dalton ends up dragging that guy out front. And it would have basically been right here that Dalton drags that guy out front, and they have that big fight melee out here. This is also when they're having their deliveries cut off, when the alcohol salesman is here to drop everything off. Wesley's henchmen show up in the back and start fighting Dalton, and we see Sam Elliott, who is Wade Garrett. He's basically the mentor to Patrick Swayze. We see him, that's the first time he beats the hell out of everybody. So a lot of stuff happens here. Now they kind of keep a lot of stuff ambiguous about this movie throughout it. Like, you never really know what Brad Wesley's relationship is to Kelly Lynch, who her character name is the Doctor. She doesn't even have a real like female name. So they kind of left things like that open for interpretation, and I think that just adds to the movie. You know, it really still makes the movie a whole movie about Dalton. So then right over here in this patch is where Dalton comes to get his auto part stuff. You notice in the movie that he, every time he goes to a new place, he gets kind of a beater car and extra tires because he knows that he's gonna have trouble. And he goes in here and that's where he meets Red, and he sees the doctor, Kelly Lynch's photo on the wall, and realizes that there's some connection between those two. But we also see when Dalton is coming to the auto parts store, we see those two thugs of Wesley leaving, backing out. They would have been basically backing out through this little road right here. And that's when we find out that Brad Wesley, played by Ben Gazzara, is basically one of those A-team bad guys where he deems himself the owner of the town and makes everybody in town pay like a hush fee, or like a safety fee. And so when we see those guys have just hustled Red, and Red's in there cleaning up, we see them back out and they come driving out here and they take off down this street. And the angle is more from kind of where Red's is over here, so you see them speed off down this road, and over here's where the boat sales place was. So since we can't go in, we'll get as close as we can. So the back of the Double Deuce would have been right back here, so that's where the loading dock on the far end of the Double Deuce would have been, where they start breaking all the bottles at the delivery time, and Patrick Swayze's taken on 4 guys himself, and Sam Elliott comes out to help him. Now I think this must be, I don't know if this is owned by the city or what, but I wonder if anything else has been filmed out here. You can definitely tell they have sections marked off so that you can drive through there, but I wonder how many people actually know that Roadhouse was filmed right here on this patch of land out here. There almost should be a plaque, don't you think? Such a monumental movie. Now you're probably wondering what happened to the set, or why didn't they leave the house up? I really don't know, other than, you know, it was a movie set, and they did say that they dismantled this building, and like I said, some of the interiors were done in Anaheim, and that building has been demolished and something else is being built in that very spot right now. So there aren't really a whole, and the barn that Patrick Swayze lived in, that house, those are all gone. So the only thing really that's left is Brad Wesley's house. But it's kind of cool to see. And of course, you know, like I said, they all come running down the front steps of the saloon because they see that Red's auto parts store is on fire. It basically blows up. And that's because of Brad Wesley, because he knows that that will get under Dalton's skin, and he also knows that he owns the town, so the sheriff and nobody's gonna do anything. But I also feel like we should point out what else happens here is, this is when Dalton comes in, the phone rings, and it's Brad Wesley telling him he has to choose one. So Brad Wesley, being played by Ben Gazzara, tells him he has to make a choice, that since Dalton killed his #1 henchman guy, that Martin guy, or Mickey, I forget what his name was, played by Marshall Teague, he tells him either the doc gets killed next or Wade Garrett, played by Sam Elliott, saying you have to make a choice. And when Dalton won't make a choice, he says he's gonna flip a coin. He flips the coin and he says, oh, I wish I could tell you how it ended. And then right that moment, Sam Elliott comes walking in the front door right there, and he's all beat up. Dalton takes off to go check on the doctor, and when he comes back, he sees that Sam Elliott has been killed, stabbed through the chest, and is laying on the bar right there at the Double Deuce. So that's also where Sam Elliott dies in the movie. The Double Deuce would have been right here, and then Red's would have been way back there. So kind of in the way that they filmed it, it made it look like they were further apart, but they were right there. And this is an extremely fun movie to quote with your friends. Since I was in high school, my friends and I have been quoting this back and forth. When we would go into a restaurant, we would always order our coffee and say, coffee, black, because that's the way Dalton said it at the bar. We would say, pain don't hurt. We'd say, well, if he doesn't want to walk, you walk him, but be nice. We've been quoting this stuff forever, so yeah, if you haven't watched it in a while, go watch Roadhouse, it's great. And like I said, even though they knew before they even made the movie, this is not something that's going to win an award, they still wanted to make it a great movie, and they did. It was great casting. It was a really great script for what it was. Like I said, it was almost kind of like an A-team movie. And they had a great director and great cinematography. Now we're gonna go eat somewhere that has a little side note in historic history. That's one heck of a patriotic pull for that billboard, isn't it? So since I've never been here before and we were so close, I mean, we were like 5-minute drive away, I figured let's stop in and check this place out. Well, they say that on James Dean's last day of life, September 30th, 1955, on his way up to that last race in Salinas that he never made it to, he stopped off here in the afternoon and had some breakfast. The Saugus Cafe. They say he ate at the bar or up at the lunch counter. So we're gonna go and have something to eat here and sit there as well. There's the counter. That's awesome. Nice. 1886, wow. Serve breakfast all day, so it's believable. I think I might get the Eggs Benedict. It says it's their special, famous. Have all kinds of signed photos on the wall. There's Heather Locklear. They've got a Iron Eyes Cody picture up here. That one is William S. Hart, who owned a ranch right up here. Very, very famous cowboy. And of course, that's Gene Autry. I don't know, I might go with the country fried steak now. Not all the seats have names on it, but I've seen a Shelley and a Bill. And there's Tom. Check that out. What a model. There's a little nod to Jimmy. Yep, I went with a country fried steak. And so far, the eggs are great. I haven't tried the steak yet. Well, the food was excellent. Now we're gonna go pick up John, go hang out with my friend Kevin for a while. Incidentally, he was the publicist on that Brainiac event, and he shared my video, all my footage with the Brainiac guys, and they loved it. That made me happy. I told them they can use any of it for anything they want. In the end, I had 45 minutes worth of their show. We got him. It is freaking hot out here today, isn't it, Ja? Freaking hot. I told you it was hot, and when we walked in here, I told Kevin, I'm like, dude, it is so hot out there. He just asked Alexa, and Alexa said it is 102 degrees outside. Well, my friends, I hope you enjoyed our Roadhouse vlog today. It got really, really, really hot after I finished, so I got done just in the right time. Thank you, Deloise Grant, Tracy Roth Myers, John and Liz Mackey, Ian Mack, Brittany and Meredith Brawley, all for making contributions through Patreon to my channel. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow. Have a great night, and goodbye.